Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of Movie Club, Black Friday edition.
That's right. And we got the perfect film just for that.
That's right. Today we are reviewing the classic holiday film, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Now, if this is your first time seeing Movie Club, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, you're probably feeling like this episode's already a little weird. It's already a little off. Rocco didn't do some in-theme kind of like joke.
No.
Cold open to the show. Do you have one prepared for us today?
How to plane. This isn't going to be a plane episode where we watch how to train your dragon. No, I got nothing.
I mean, that's pretty on par for a year.
This is about right.
Automobiles or cars. No.
Okay. Nope.
That's it.
Didn't work.
Okay.
I got nothing left.
Typically this show, Movie Club, is exclusive to the Mega64 Patreon. So go check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Mega64.
Yeah. We watched.
My microphone is
slowly
deflating.
He's got drooping mic, dude.
I got droopy mic syndrome. Check out patreon.com/Mega64 if you enjoy this and watch all the other episodes of Movie Club.
Yeah, we've reviewed like hundreds of movies at this point.
Yes.
So many fucking movies. So it's fun. It's a fun time. So thanks for checking out our special edition of Movie Club. So Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, a movie I've never seen before. Derek has never seen it. Rocco, is this a movie you've always watched, or is this like a new discovery for you?
I had seen this for the first time in like the last 2 or 3 years. I had heard about it forever.
Yes.
Gave it a shot, and I was surprised because I did not know this was in an entirely new genre, the Thanksgiving film. We've seen a million Christmas movies. We've seen a million, scary movies that you would qualify as a Halloween time film. But I had not seen something like this where it's like, oh, this really is heavily centered around Thanksgiving. In fact, I said last week, I consider this the definitive Thanksgiving movie. Others have touched on the subject, but Thanksgiving is the nucleus of an entire operation.
Yeah. What are some other great Thanksgiving movies?
I can't think of a single one, to be real with you. What's another?
But they gotta exist.
Do they?
Wasn't there like a Thanksgiving themed troll movie, like Thanksgiving?
No, Sean made that up.
Oh,
I think.
Never mind. That's a Sean.
I think he did.
Sean made that up a long time ago.
Yeah, I think I did that. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of a single Thanksgiving. And that's weird because the whole world stops for this the same way they do for, not the whole world, the whole country. It stops. It's like Christmas. Like everyone stops to celebrate the holiday, spend time with family. There's no movies about it.
Yeah.
Huh. It's weird.
And that surprised me. So in watching this film, this to me took the spot. Okay, when it comes to Thanksgiving, this is the thing you watch.
I last night went on iTunes and it's Black Friday. What deals do they have here? I wonder. And the top selling TV series was WKRP in Cincinnati.
Whoa.
Which I know you're not expecting. Because I'm sure of this, they have like a hilarious Thanksgiving episode, and I am sure everyone's buying that show. It's like $6 for the whole season on iTunes, but it's like, what other things tackle Thanksgiving besides this movie, which was the #1 movie, and then WKRP in Cincinnati?
Was there a Charlie Brown thing?
Yes, but no one watches that.
I don't remember. Yeah, because I always hear about a Christmas special and the Halloween thing, but I don't remember the Thanksgiving one at all.
Yeah. For what I remember, like in my mind, seeing like Pilgrims, right? The Peanuts gang dressed up as like the Pilgrims. I think that's a thing in my brain. I don't know.
Isn't that crazy?
So, so this is a Rocco pick, and are you Googling it? Did you find anything? You have a laptop in front of you, but you're Googling on your phone.
No,
use the big computer.
No, I was posting to let people know about this.
You have your notes up. I understand. Yes. So you picked this movie.
Yes.
Anything else you want to say about why you nominated this for Movie Club?
Well, I was surprised. I didn't know this was a John Hughes film. There was so much I didn't know about it until I watched it a couple years ago. I am pro Steve Martin. I'm not a Steve Martin fanboy. I mean, there are people who there's a level of worship. I'm not on that level, but he gets a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I like
but
Steve Martin.
More than him, I'm a Candy man. John Candy. I miss, rest in peace, John. He just left us, and I miss him. So I was happy to see them both in this.
There's a new show, Only Murders in the Building. Have you seen that show with Steve Martin?
Minutes of it. I've
It's
not
good.
seen the whole.
I like it.
Yeah, I've heard good stuff.
It's good. Yeah, Derek doesn't like Steve Martin. That is, I think that's a very I don't know if it's controversial, but it's not a very common take. I think most people genuinely like him.
Here you are setting me up to be annihilated in front of our live audience.
You don't need to be annihilated.
I wasn't even going to go into my take on Steve Martin. I was just going to review this movie straight, But here, if you want to hear it, I will be upfront about it.
Okay.
I don't get Steve Martin. I've seen a bunch of Steve Martin movies. They're all right at best, in my opinion. This is another Steve Martin movie, and I feel like this is more Steve Martin. And it is what it is.
I just feel like he has this vibe about him. Like it's like this fake smile trying to appease people, and I always laugh when he does it. Like, he does it in everything he's in.
Yeah.
And it always gets me. I don't know what it is about him. I don't know.
Yeah. He's got this full of shit attitude kind of thing, and I dig that too. I know what you mean. I don't know how else to explain that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just find Steve Martin kind of corny, to be honest. I just don't like it. Never really gets to a deep level of comedy. It always just feels like shticky, like this dude's just doing a shticky bit that he thinks is funny. And I'm like, yeah, you think you're funny.
You know who does that sometimes, and not every time, but old Bill Murray. For me, it's like, oh, I don't. Like, you're just being a goof. Like, I can't connect to anything here. Like when I watched Stripes, or there was something else with him.
I never saw Stripes. Yeah,
I watched it. And I was like, I can't like. If you're like the main character, you're just too much of a. And then later on, like he did Groundhog's Day, and that's not that good at all. But like, yeah, I just
And I honestly feel like Steve Martin doesn't really have a movie that is like a classic, a definitive. What is the definitive Steve Martin movie? If you have to watch only one.
I don't know, but I love a lot of them. I don't know what one is, but like I love this. I love Three Amigos. I saw that for the first time maybe like 6 or 8 months ago, and I love
Three
that.
Amigos. Yeah. People are saying The Jerk. I've never seen The Jerk either.
The Jerk I loved. I saw that. That's another one. I only saw his movies maybe in the last few years, most of them, and I really liked just about all of them. And corny.
I think I turned The Jerk off after about 15 minutes.
I thought The Jerk was fantastic. I love that.
movie.
But I know what you mean about corny, but I think I like his brand of corny. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this movie. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
All right, we're going to be talking Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We're going to be spoiling the whole movie. If you haven't seen it, maybe you want to turn this off and go watch the movie and come back after you've checked it out. Or if you don't care, stick around and we'll just tell you everything that happens. And we're going to get into it right now. So Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, all plural, is a movie from 1980. Is it 87, 89?
It is 1987.
1987, starring Steve Martin and John Candy, written by John Hughes. And it is basically about traveling home for the holidays 2 days before Thanksgiving, which, as most people know, or maybe you don't know, is the busiest travel days of the year. There was something a little charming about putting this movie on 2 days before Thanksgiving, so I give it extra points for being of the season.
Sure.
It's a little celebratory film to get you in the mood. Steve Martin plays like a marketing executive, an ad man, and the movie opens with him in New York City kind of showing some advertisements to his latest client. Yeah. And, it's kind of funny, which I guess is pretty much how you could sum up most of the scenes in this movie. This guy is kind of just going over the brochures of I don't know, the shit that Steve Martin has proposed to him for this marketing. What are they advertising? I don't know.
Some kind of, I thought it was like, it looked like perfume or a necklace or some shit. You know, it's like a fancy magazine that you would have like it's like the model looking like this and, you know, something fancy. A fancy shit. Also, this guy clearly has like money. Like he's not like the richest guy in the room, but you could definitely tell like money's not really an object for what Steve Martin is, you know, he doesn't really care.
Well, he works for like a big New York City, you know, ad agency. He's like a big marketing guy, wears suits. So yeah, totally. He's trying to travel home for the holidays, trying to get back to Chicago to see his family. That's pretty much the crux of the movie. That's the whole journey. This guy just wants to get home to see his family. He tries to get to the airport. Oh, what does he have? Like 30 minutes to get to the airport to catch his flight at the beginning of the movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
And thus we kick off the great film that is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with 30 minutes to get to the airport. And of course, everything goes wrong. He tries to catch cabs. He can't catch a cab. His cab gets stolen by John Candy. I mean, cut in at any time if you feel like I'm missing stuff from this plot.
Like
here.
I got a vibe from this movie where, you know, I haven't seen this one, but I've seen movies like it that I've clearly have taken from this movie. I feel like the movie Tommy Boy has taken from this movie, and you know, so like I kept getting these vibes. But it really,
in what way? What do you mean?
Well, it's just two guys on the road. One guy is bigger, and one guy is kind of a clumsy, and then the other, like the other guy is kind of the straight man who's trying to wrangle the other guy in. You know, I kind of feel like
to that extent, you could say that goes back to like Abbott and Costello,
sure.
Or a Laurel and Hardy, you know, big guy, little guy. I'm not going to say Planes, Trains, and Automobiles invented that dynamic, but it is a classic like comedy duo pairing.
Yeah. So it's kind of that, yeah, but it's also like a road trip type thing too, where they kind of get somewhere and they have a purpose. But it really is just a series of unfortunate events like throughout the entire thing and how they deal with that, you know, and that's kind of just because you're going through like what's going to happen in the movie, but it really isn't like that much, you know. I can explain these characters to you in 30 seconds and then you got the whole gist of what I know and what is shown, you know. It's just really just watching them go through all these terrible things happening to them essentially, you know.
Yeah, I mean, generally that is an aspect of the movie. In a way, it's like the most terrible thing that happens to them though is that they meet each other, because a lot of their problems would not have occurred if it just weren't for their own like character failings.
Yeah, continuing to bump into each other and all of that.
Yeah.
And them being so opposite in how they want to handle certain things too, or whatever.
Yeah.
Creates friction.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Steve Martin, he's trying to get to the airport. His cab gets stolen by John Candy. And then at the airport, wouldn't you know it, John Candy sits down across from him at the airport. And, you know, he confronts him about it. You stole my cab. And John Candy, you know, is a nice guy, like wants to make it up to him. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna move on. I feel like I'm waiting for this movie to really like kick in and kind of. For me, it never really elevated to a point of like attaining, a satisfactory just movie experience. It was always like approaching a satisfactory experience, but never quite getting there.
Yeah, I kind of was waiting for something a little bit more too, where it's like. Back to Tommy Boy, like, you know, they have a set mission of like, we have to do this to save the company or whatever in that movie. This is like, well, we got to get home. Yeah. And that's it, which is fine. That's a good enough plot device, but it also is like, okay, but it's not happening. So what else can we, you know, accomplish here?
Yeah.
Kind of.
You know, I don't want to talk too much about Tommy Boy because I don't want to review a movie that we didn't watch. I feel like that in Tommy Boy, Chris Farley is like going to inherit this company and David Spade works for the company. And there's like so much high stakes about why these guys are stuck together, why they have to be stuck together, despite the fact that they kind of don't like each other. But this movie, just kind of these guys almost just like fate sticks them together, you know? Mm-hmm. It's just like, they're just kind of like, meh, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. They end up getting on the plane and I don't recall why the plane like
there's a blizzard in Chicago. Or wherever they are, so they can't land.
That's right. The storm is really bad.
Yeah.
LaGuardia Airport, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they get rerouted back to...
they have to go to Wichita, I believe. Kansas.
Okay, yeah. This movie kind of takes place all over America in between New York and Chicago, which means they hit Wichita, Kansas. They wind up in St. Louis at one point. Are there any other like major cities that I'm missing? They obviously make it to Chicago eventually.
I don't think so.
Those are the ones
I think
remember.
that's kind of
Yeah.
it. Like, I have here.
So they're rerouted to Wichita, Kansas, and let's look at our checklist here. Planes, got it.
Check.
You got planes on deck.
Next, they try automobiles with they get into a cab. It's like the cab from hell. The cab from hell I actually did enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this set piece. There were a lot of things that I did like find cute and amusing about this movie. And mainly it was all of the characters that they would run into, right? The cabbie who's like really punk rock and into the devil and he's decorated his cab. I liked all the motel owners that were really weird that they would have to interact with. There's a famous scene. I'm assuming it's famous because it was a big scene in the movie where he interacts with a lady at the rental car counter. I liked all those other characters.
Yeah. That scene is the sole reason it was rated R.
Oh, really?
Just that, because it's profanity laden.
It is.
Other scenes don't quite go as far, but that one, every other word is fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, it was like, can you cut that and we'll lower the rating? No. Okay, it's R.
That's crazy. That's fascinating to me whenever that conversation comes up, because it's like, that's millions of dollars they left on the table, essentially, if they would have changed that. But yeah, it doesn't make the movie what it is.
And then you see movies that chose money, like Live Free or Die Hard.
I was going to say that one.
Can you, he doesn't say, what does he say? Trick or treat, motherfucker. What's his catchphrase? Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yeah. Trick or treat, motherfucker.
He doesn't say that. That makes it rated R. Okay, have the gunshot cover, motherfucker. And it kind of ruins the movie. I mean, it's so funny because that's such a minimal part.
Yeah,
but that scene comes and everyone in the audience goes, oh, man.
Well, also, Die Hard became famous
Yeah.
for being a rated R movie.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be PG-13.
Just
Like, if the
embrace
first
it.
one was, fine. But it's like, we already established this is an R franchise. You don't need to make it PG-13 to, fuck off.
Exactly.
And there is the point of, don't you get like one or two free fucks in a PG-13 movie? You do, but it's context. You could say it like, it's fucking weird. Like you could say it like that, but you can't say like, I'm going to fuck her or, whatever. And motherfucker is under the latter category for some reason.
Because it's the worst curse word.
You're just saying
in
it as
English.
a phrase, but you can't do it. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So all the outside characters, I ended up liking them more than the main characters personally. But whatever. So they get into this cab and then they end up in like a motel. And then the comedy here is just like sharing a room with somebody you don't know who's kind of gross. They have a tiny bed that they have to share. Steve Martin has to take a shower after John Candy and he washes his face with John Candy's underwear and steps on a gross floor.
The wet towel detail I really liked. Like there's a lot of things they could have done to make it gross, but I specifically love just wet towels on the ground is already a great detail.
Yeah, the movie kind of traffics in like little slice of life nuance. Like, haven't you always had this problem when you share a hotel with people?
Yes.
They wake up cuddling accidentally at the beginning of the next day. After they leave the motel, what's their next?
I have it
what do they do next?
here. Just real quick about the hotel, though. I really liked this scene. This whole thing. And I think it's maybe because we've done that with each other so many times. We've shared rooms with each other and just and there's back in the day, like old school PAX East days or whatever, where it'd be like 5 of us in one room. And it was definitely a fucking heinous situation that we were trying to get through.
I think the record was the first PAX East because we didn't know what we were heading into. I think it was 6. I think
why did we do that? That was crazy. So yeah, we did that once. And so like, I just see these two strangers have to share a room with each other. And it's like, man, like they did not expect this way to go this way. Now they're in fucking Kansas. I don't know. I really enjoyed that part. Let me see where they go. I think that's when they get on the train. After this, I'm pretty sure they get on the train.
Okay, yeah. They this is where they do planes, trains, and this will be the trains part of planes, trains.
Because they can't air travel at this point. Yeah.
Because of the blizzard, so they get onto a train and they split up, you know. And by the way, at this point, there's kind of some character development, and we'll give them credit. Like, yes, Steve Martin has a lot of money. He's a businessman. They get into a fight at this motel room where Steve Martin thinks that John Candy is really annoying, really like talkative, is totally kind of oblivious to his surroundings and is just like living in his own world. La 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 la, you know, where Steve Martin is very like terse and professional and I pay for my section and you have your section and let's not overlap, right? So they're an odd couple. They get into a fight where Steve Martin basically tells him like, you're loud, obnoxious, annoying. But John Candy says like, yeah, but I am friendly, basically. Like, I'm of the people. My wife likes me. I like me. Like, I like to have a good time. I like to live life. I'm not going to compromise who I am because there's people like you in the world who want to judge people and be all hoity-toity. So that's kind of the dynamic between these two characters.
Yeah.
Steve Martin has been paying for everything up until this point. He paid for all the meals. He paid for the motel. John Candy's kind of a freeloader. So they decide to part ways when they're on the train. The train doesn't make it to Chicago. Why does the train stop? I don't remember.
I don't remember either, to be real with you. I don't remember why it stops. But I did like this part. Well,
do you remember why the train stops?
No, I can't remember. I'm looking here. Why does the train stop?
Yeah.
Chat, why does it stop?
Yeah, if we have to add it just as an example
it just broke. It broke down.
It's just an example of
They
how
get ditched in the field or whatever.
I remember that, but like so many plot points of this movie are just like, yeah, it just happened. Move on.
Yeah.
So the train broke down, by golly.
Yeah, I did like, well, when Steve Martin is like, hey, I think this is it for us. Like, I don't want to be with you anymore. I was a little like, okay, well, that's kind of a bummer. I was sad for some reason about that. When the train breaks down and you see John Candy struggling to get his trunk through this like dirt field, and Steve Martin, without saying anything, just like goes over and just picks up with them. They start walking without saying a word to each other. I liked that. Like there was like moments like, okay, I'm getting things out of this a little bit. You know, I'm getting moments here.
Yes, this will bring me to the point I want to bring up here.
Okay.
I think I don't know what has transpired this year because I feel like we have never quite been on the same page other than Train to Busan. But no one could hear me talk during that episode, so no one will
Why
ever
couldn't
know.
they hear you talk?
My mic was off.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Zero audio. So it's you guys. Oh, yeah. Train to Busan. Yeah. So, Rocco, what was your take?
No. Oh, that sucks.
Something happened.
Oops.
It was in the recording. But anyway.
Shit.
Neither here nor there. But I will say this movie to me, when I saw it, it was corny. I like a corny holiday movie. I'm with it, but whatever. I mean, that only goes so far. They're fun in kind of a junk food way. But what to me elevated this movie was that anytime it hit the apex of something happening, or things are really brought to a head here, it actually showed an emotional side. And I was really pleasantly surprised by that. That little rant we were talking about a second ago with John Candy. I think John Candy's just an incredible performer. Even just him smoking cigarettes in bed and what, I just physically like watching him do stuff. So already I'm enthralled by that. But I like that it kept exposing heart. And it had those moments to it when I didn't think they would. I thought it would, it didn't have to. And so I was really actually into it. And moments like this were just selling me more and more and more on it. So
I like also the wife picture on the dresser.
Yeah.
And the hotel room. I was like, that's funny. Like, and there's little things about it. Like they do a good job, I think, of you see why John Candy is annoying.
Yes.
But you also can't help but kind of love him a little bit. You know, like I don't want to be stuck in a room with this guy, but I also kind of like him,
Yes.
That's kind of the vibe I got from him. I do have a map, by the way, in case we ever get distracted again. I have what their route was and what the transportation was on this map.
Okay, good.
So their intended route, I got that. They go to Kansas. Then they get on the train, breaks down. And then right now where we're at is the bus. There's a bus, which I forgot about.
I didn't forget about the bus. So for whatever reason, Steve Martin decides, like, I'm in it with this guy. He kind of takes pity on him, honestly. John Candy is kind of a loser.
I mean, he's a shower curtain or shower ring salesman. Like
Yeah.
that can't be.
And he
Yeah.
carries a giant trunk around, which, is impossible to move. So he just kind of like doesn't have his shit together. Steve Martin totally has his shit together. So he kind of takes pity on him. He helps him carry his trunk. They buy some bus tickets together. They're on a bus, and bus is crappy. Bus is cramped. There's people singing on the bus. There's people making out on the bus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. They take the bus to St. Louis,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get off the bus, and now they're going to just rent a car and drive from St. Louis. Go their separate ways once again. And yeah, I just felt like they're on the bus. It's kind of uneventful. My main, and I'll just stop right here and say everything you guys are saying and praising this movie, I can see that. But to me, the glaring problem of this movie is it's just fucking boring. It's just like, in my opinion, two bumbling guys who have a lot of like mild inconveniences, and the movie, it's just like never gets going. I just felt like, yeah. And then the train broke down. Yeah. And then they rode a bus. They tried to rent a car, but the car wasn't there. Oh gosh, So it just kind of like elevated to here, and then just kind of like was boilerplate for me a little bit. Just kind of stayed a little lukewarm. Steve Martin tries to rent a car, and the car is just not there. And he freaks out, and he goes back, and this is the famous scene where he like flips out on the rental car lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he says fuck like a million times. I don't think you can cut this scene, because if you cut this scene, then you really don't have a movie. Because Steve Martin, this is where the like well put together guy loses his shit.
Sure, I see that.
Yeah.
This is like the transitional turning point for this character. He's totally thrown like professionalism out the window.
Yeah.
And also coincidentally, from this point on, he's just like, all right, I'm stuck with John Candy. Like, I'm not going to get rid of this guy. I don't know. Like, I felt like, maybe I'm just being too hard on this, but I didn't feel like Steve Martin was that funny in the fuck scene.
Oh really? I thought that was.
I
Really
think
funny.
he's great the whole movie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to. I'm going to go on record here, and maybe this will grind this to a halt. I don't know.
Okay.
I thought this was a perfect movie. I was floored when it ended. It's
Wow.
corny, but when it ended, I was like, I didn't think it would be that good. I really thought them trying to get home for Thanksgiving, every single thing going wrong. They're both great performers. And then this scene happened. I was like, damn, they didn't even have to. Again, they could have made more money selling this movie by not having every word being fucked, but we don't care. We committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just there's little signs of commitment like that in every scene. You know what I mean? Again, like, it doesn't need to get emotional. And John Candy suddenly out of nowhere comes out with this like, you don't like me? Well, you know what? I like me. I don't know. There all these moments that the movie kind of I feel like there's comedies that would flake out even more. And it doesn't do that. I was actually genuinely really surprised by that. It was like more earnest of a movie than I thought it would be. So this scene to me was like, I was really fucking sold by this point because of that. And I thought he was funny in it. I'm not going to say objectively, clearly it didn't work for you, but I don't know. I thought it was, that's my take on it. I hadn't shared my angle yet, so I wanted to get that out there. Because we have very different perspectives.
Hey,
on
it's fine. I knew I was coming in here and, having a bad review for a beloved holiday movie. I knew that this was not going to be a popular opinion for me.
Sure.
But I'm still here to express my take on the movie. So, I understand that people out there are going to say I'm wrong. That's okay.
Sure. But I wanted to make my stance clear in case
This is just
wasn't.
This is just my opinion on the movie, and maybe some other people out there agree with me, and we could stand together privately in the corner when people talk about how great this movie is.
Sure.
But yeah, I just thought the delivery in this scene was like so obvious. Again, it just felt like Steve Martin was doing a shtick. When he walked up and he's like, your motherfucking dumbass car wasn't there. That was funny to me. But then as it went on, I don't give a fuck if you don't have the fucking car. And I just walked a long fucking way to get to this fucking desk. And it was just so much. I'm like, yeah, okay. So get to the point where she says fuck back to you. This is such a telegraphed joke that you're making the centerpiece of this movie. I was like, I like the idea here, but I just didn't like Steve Martin's delivery in it.
I think if this, but I will say too to that, I think if that had been in many other types of movies, maybe I would have been a little more like, all right. I do think you mentioning things being corny. I do think maybe corny and holiday movie in my mind go together, and I forgive it. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like maybe I am doing a degree of that. I don't know. I could,
To be real
I
with
see
you,
what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
to be honest, and this is going to be probably even more hot take, and maybe people out there will really blast me for this one. I don't know if I'm trying to think if there's any holiday movie that I actually think is good. I don't like Christmas Story. Elf.
Well,
No,
Home
I don't
Alone.
like Elf.
Home Alone?
I love Home Alone.
Okay.
I do love Home Alone.
Okay.
Home Alone is so good, I almost forget that it's about Christmas.
Yeah.
And Home Alone's the best holiday movie of all time, in my opinion.
I
Now that you mentioned that,
I agree with you.
Jingle All the Way. Somebody said in the. Now I'm gonna go with the chat. Jingle All the Way, not the greatest movie. I would argue that Die Hard is a great Christmas movie just because it's such a great movie that happens to vaguely have Christmas in it.
Yeah.
But Nightmare Before Christmas, I liked as a kid.
Yeah.
And I could still watch it as a tradition. But
Christmas Story I just rewatched like a day ago, and that one I like that. I like it. I'll say I like the movie, but it has never been like up on. It's never been on a pedestal for me either. But all of what you're saying ties into. I was going to say this a minute ago, Derek, is there is a level though of like this, the type of corny this movie is. I feel like has never kind of been your thing.
No,
and I think I really do feed on it. That being said, I think this movie has more to offer than just that, and that's why I really liked it. But I kind of, it doesn't surprise me. I think that's kind of never been your thing, So I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're saying. To me, you're not saying anything too terribly unexpected. I mean,
Yeah, I feel like for me, this movie kind of is too middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't quite go deep enough to be really like dramatic on any level.
Mm-hmm.
For me, this movie doesn't like stir real emotions in me, but it doesn't go comedy enough. It kind of keeps itself purposely wholesome throughout, where it doesn't quite delve in my opinion, into being like a really, really funny movie. It just kind of is. It is what it is. It's kind of a middle of the road movie, in my opinion. And I know it's a beloved movie out there. We can just kind of fast forward to the ending. Eventually, they do make it home, and I feel like we're going to skip over kind of maybe the most entertaining and funny part,
With the
which is when they just
the rental car.
they take a rental car and they're smoking cigarettes in it. They're driving on the wrong side of the road. They almost get into a heinous car crash and they light the car on fire.
Yeah, that the car and them driving it, totally. That especially, not to keep bringing this fucking movie up, but that's Tommy Boy, where it's like, but you get to your destination, but your car is like, how are you even making this on the road? Like, this is so fucked up.
The car part, that was the most entertaining part for me. It's not like this movie sucked. It's not like this movie's miserable. I wasn't dying watching it.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of sitting there being like, haha, yeah. Oh shit, this car part's pretty funny. Yeah. That was my favorite part, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. John Hughes was also involved in Christmas Vacation, which that's a Christmas movie I love.
I love. One. Yeah.
But it that starts with car.
Oh yeah.
Road rage car chase bullshit. It's just funny. It's like they kind of worked that into more than one holiday movie. I don't know. It's interesting.
Now,
connection.
I'm going to go to the ending because this is where I feel I have the strongest argument. I do not think this is a perfect movie. The ending of this movie left me like feeling empty inside.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it comes out at the end of this movie that John Candy's wife, who he has been adoring and saying like, my wife loves me, he seems like a really good husband. You find out that she's been dead for like almost a decade.
And I think that his trunk is all he has. I think that's his possession.
Yeah. John Candy is basically like a homeless guy.
Oh, so sad.
And he's just been like, walking with nowhere to go and kind of just being like happy-go-lucky, not letting Steve Martin know that he really has nowhere to go. And that's why Steve Martin's like picking up everything. But John Candy's such a lovable guy, who would guess? So Steve Martin goes and finds him, realizes like, oh my God, he's so lonely. Goes and finds him, they have this moment where he confesses, like, yeah, my wife died 8 years ago. And he's like, well, why don't you come back to my house for the holidays? And then it ends with Steve Martin arrives at home, and it's just this really awkward scene of his like ghostly, haunted looking wife kind of just like staring at him from the staircase.
I did think that wife in particular, I'm like, what is happening?
She looked like she expected him to die instead of coming. She looks like she's scared that he's there. And then he's like, honey, this is my friend, Dell. Hi, nice to meet you. And then they go in for a passionate kiss. And it just like closes in on Dell. We just learned this guy's wife has been dead for 8 years. And he just watches Steve Martin make out with his living wife. And he just kind of smiles. Yeah. And it fades to black. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, way to rub it in John Candy's face. Like, well, your wife might be dead, but stand by while I make out with my wife here. I was like, what? It almost felt like, honestly, I was like, is that it? Is there not more to... Is there a happy ending here? That felt really strange to me.
It's so funny, Derek, because when it cut to black, I went, okay. I said that out loud.
Me too. I Googled it. I Googled planes, trains, automobiles ending explained. Yeah. And people were like, John Candy's wife was dead the whole time. And I was like, yeah, I know. But what was the intention of the filmmakers with that ending?
If the last shot was like them two together at the table and like something like, oh man, they became friends. Like that's how nice is this?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but A Tuttle has just put something in the chat that I was not aware of. Were you guys aware of this?
Yes.
I'm not aware.
Go ahead and bring this up.
This movie famously, this may blow your mind.
Okay.
A lot of movies have deleted scenes. This movie was famous for its deleted scenes because for years, in interviews and other things that came up, like half the movie was excised.
Just say what A Tuttle said, because that's significant.
And A Tuttle said in the original cut, there was an entire subplot with the wife kept thinking Steve Martin was cheating on her. Where okay, oh, you're still not coming? Oh, you're still not here? There was a whole ongoing thing.
Okay, well.
And so that was removed. There's also, I believe, I may have this wrong, but there was also like they go have dinner, and maybe that got cut too, because if you guys remember, I don't know if you do, earlier in this movie, Steve Martin's having like visions of like what Thanksgiving will be. You know, it shows like the turkey. And the table. Those are just deleted scenes. Like they have Thanksgiving dinner.
What?
Like there was
what the fuck?
There was an hour and 10 more minutes of this movie.
All right.
And they just cut the shit out of it.
I feel like this is validating to me. The guy who's sitting here being like, this movie has fucking low stakes. It never gets into gear. It feels like it ramps up to a point and then just sits boilerplate. I'm literally just quoting things I've said from the last hour. And then you tell me this whole subplot where this weird ass wife actually has like a thought
that is reason to be weird.
That is explaining why she's acting like she's fucking haunted.
So
maybe this is why the movie just left me being like, huh? Like,
so the deleted scenes were never ever found until 2 days ago.
Are you fucking serious?
The 4K re-release just came out actually 3 days ago on the 22nd.
Yeah.
And they said, surprise, we found all of them.
Shut
and they're
the
on.
Fuck up.
They're on. I mean, they weren't found 3 days ago. They were released 3 days
ago.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, you can actually now, and I was going to today after this, I was going to watch the extra hour and 10 minutes.
Well, maybe I will too. Maybe I will too. Because, you know, I understand this is a beloved movie to a lot of people out there, but I feel like this kind of explains something that I was feeling watching the movie that I wasn't even aware of until you've said this now, where just this movie just kind of felt off to me.
But it is funny you mentioned that though with the ending. It's funny for some reason the ending, it was weird, but I didn't really think too much about it. For me, I don't know why this is, but for me, I thought more about when, like I said, when he's having those visions of Thanksgiving, like they're all sitting at the table and the turkey.
Yeah.
I was like, that was spooky. That was my moment where I was like, why are they showing these like ethereal kind of moments here? And yeah, it set my radar off. I'm like, were these deleted scenes?
Dude,
and they were.
This makes actually like this doesn't change my opinion of the movie, but
Sure,
it explains why I had this feeling where I say like this movie, it tries to have these emotional moments, but for me, it's never like, why should we care? Why is Steve Martin so like? I just explained to your wife that fucking traffic is bad. I didn't know like your whole marriage is going to collapse because there's this infidelity element and she doesn't believe you. That at least is another like layer to this movie, which is interesting. They should kept that in. But I don't know.
They said, the initial cut of the movie was 4 hours. So they
were
they were like, well, it ain't going to work.
You can't do that. Never mind.
It ain't going to work.
I don't know what the solution is here then.
Yeah. And all that extra stuff, people are saying this too, but all that extra stuff is in, it's like, they found it, it's like VHS quality. So it's in its own bonus feature.
Okay.
It's not like integrated back into the movie, but it is available to watch. So I did think that was kind of neat.
Well, I thought the ending was weird. I thought the movie kind of, was lacking some punch to it. Maybe it's this wife subplot that was deleted, but maybe it's just not my kind of movie. I don't know.
I forgave that weird actual ending because I thought John Candy and his performance in the scenes preceding that were so good. Mm-hmm. I love the left turn kind of twist with him and the emotional moments with him. And that was just like, again, a little element I didn't think we were going to get, and I savored every second of it. So I forgave the weird, spooky last shot. I did think it was weird, but for some reason, those flashback parts tripped me up more. I don't know what that was. Anyway.
That's crazy.
But we had similar thoughts, different parts.
All right.
Let's give it some official scores here.
Yep. Rocco, you picked it, so you can start with the Shakers.
As I said, I love a good corny holiday movie, but I thought this brought more to the table via these kind of emotional moments, the development kind of between them. I really enjoyed where that went. I think they're both entertaining, but I do think. I'm not going to say this is like the best Steve Martin movie. Again, like you said, I don't know what that is. Maybe it is The Jerk. I like The Jerk personally a lot, but this to me was more of a Candy presentation. I love John Candy. He shines here. When this was over to me for a holiday movie, this was perfect to me. 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5 Shakers. Derek.
I'll go next. I've already given my review, so I don't need to reiterate or unnecessarily slam this movie. I think it's 2 out of 5. It's not the worst movie, but it's just not my kind of movie.
I think I fall in the middle. I feel like I haven't said much in this last half of this episode. I'm right in the middle where like I loved parts of this movie. I love John Candy and I love Steve Martin, and I like this movie, but I did feel like there's weirdness to it. I think maybe we just talked about what it was. I feel also like if I would have seen this movie as a kid, this would be a 5 for me. I think I would have loved it, and I think seeing it now,
I think so too.
I think I could imagine me with my dad watching this movie and fucking loving it. And I don't know why we didn't, because he loves John Candy so much, but we just didn't. I'm gonna give it 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was a great movie, and I probably will watch it again when Thanksgiving comes around again. So that's.
I think if I saw this movie younger, I would like it a lot more. I think I've seen it. I think there's an era of comedy movies that this fits in, and we're maybe like 2 or 3 eras later. Mm-hmm. And so I just feel like it's a little late for me to get into this movie.
Yeah,
me
I
personally.
I just vibe with that, with the like the corny 80s movies. We've disagreed on that kind of thing before.
Yeah.
And but I think I vibe with it for whatever reason.
I like corny 80s movies that are a little bit more fucked up. This movie was not fucked up enough for me. Can I just say it? This movie needed to be raunchier. The scene where he curses out the lady, he needed more venom in his delivery. This movie was too wholesome for me. So
yeah, I guess I like the wholesomeness. But I will say, I want to say though, as a side note, when you mentioned like, oh, if I had seen it earlier, things like that.
Yeah.
This is just a side tangent. Sorry, but something that bothers me because sometimes what?
Somebody said something in chat. Crack me up. I'm going to repeat it.
Something. I saw it too. That's okay. Shame on it. Shame on you.
Shame on you.
Yeah, we didn't say it. But anyway, so the one thing I want to say is sometimes when I bring up a movie like this, you guys didn't say this. So I'm gonna pat you both on the back. I will physically in a minute.
Thank you.
You didn't say this, but sometimes when there are movies like this, and I'll bring it up, and maybe it didn't work for someone, maybe someone didn't like it. They'll say this one thing, and they don't ever intend it insulting, but it low key insults me. Where they go, well, I just didn't grow up with it, and it'll be something that I saw a year ago, and it's like I didn't fucking grow up with it either. I've gotten that on what else? Terminator. I get like Terminator. I saw when I was 28. I didn't see it until that, and it was like, well, I didn't like it. I didn't grow up with it. I'm like, well, I fucking just watched it. Like it was awesome. Yeah. Anyway, I get that a lot. I'm specifically talking about myself.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you just reminded me of that when it was like if I had watched it a long time ago. But I liked it now.
When I think of like growing up with a movie, though, that's like I grew up with Terminator because I watched the movie, but then I spent years pretending I was a Terminator, or pretending I was John Connor, or reenacting like that motorcycle diesel chase scene, like on my neighborhood on my bike. So it was like, pretending I was in the movie for years and years.
Well,
and
I
years.
know that when I saw that movie, I told Rocco I didn't grow up with it because I didn't think 2 was as good as 1. Speaking of growing up with things, what?
Oh, nothing. There was chocolate milk there.
Speaking of growing up with things, my pick is a movie that I watched as a kid, and I've watched it 100 times. I've watched this movie so many fucking times. Rocco has never seen it, and I think that's not an accident. He didn't want to see it. I'm going to make him watch the movie Happy Gilmore starring Adam Sandler. He's going to have to see it, and I know he really hates Adam Sandler.
I think this is going to... Hey, you know what? Hold on. I have always maintained that I am a Sand fan.
Yeah.
That I'm a Sandler fan.
Yeah.
And I grew up with Happy Gilmore.
Yes.
This is a movie I grew up with. Mm-hmm. So if this movie doesn't convert
I just didn't
you...
grow up with it.
I think this movie... You never saw this movie, and that explains why you're not an Adam Sandler fan.
Yep.
But I still think this movie... is powerful and has the power to change your opinion.
I am dying to know.
I think this might convert you.
The Goku versus Vegeta of Mega64, the Neo versus Agent Smith of Mega64 is going to be John Candy and Steve Martin versus Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
Hey, Steve Martin sucks. Adam Sandler rules.
Where do you stand? We're doing this live. Chat, vote. We want to see the votes.
Not only is
Where do
Adam
you stand?
Sandler a better comedic actor than Steve Martin, but Uncut Gems is fucking Oscar-worthy dramatic role.
No.
Sandler is like
Hey,
10 Steve Martins.
Can you put this poll on Twitter and put who's better, Steve Martin or Adam Sandler?
Yeah, I'll do a Twitter thing.
Okay.
Dude. We're gonna get. I know. I already know.
Adam
who's gonna win.
You want to talk about comedy albums that are actually funny? Adam Sandler. Steve Martin.
I don't care about. Wait, hold on. Actually, maybe that's a point to contend here. I don't care about Steve Martin's comedy albums.
Thank you.
But the movies are good.
I'm leading the cause on the anti-Steve Martin movie.
But you know what? But let me just say, this is boiled down to just Steve Martin. I said both. And I will say, and I don't know if this is controversial, I would rather stan the Candyman than Steve Martin. If it becomes one of those, sorry, I'm going John Candy.
Candy, sure.
if you want to do John Candy versus Adam Sandler, I stand by.
Are you banjo comedy or are you Hanukkah song?
Well,
where do you stand?
Anyways, I can't wait to see what Rocco thinks.
Hey, one person in the chat said Click is dog shit. Well,
thank you. Jack and Jill.
I'm not including Click.
In Movie Club, we watched Meet the Zohan. We have seen bad Adam Sandler movies.
Hey, Adam Sandler is both better than Steve Martin and worse. He's the alpha and the omega. He's made better movies and he's made worse movies.
He's more versatile, better and worse.
He's bigger in every sense, okay?
There was a streak of Adam Sandler where it was Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, and The Wedding Singer. And for me, those are some of the best movies. I love those movies. So, Anyways, you haven't seen them all.
You haven't seen.
You haven't seen 2.
You haven't seen
and
Happy
you
Gilmore.
didn't hate Billy Madison, so shut the fuck
No,
up.
I didn't. No, that was
Shut
that
the
that
fuck
worked.
up.
That worked. I'll
We'll
deem
see
it worked.
We'll see you next week
For on Patreon.
on Patreon.
Oh yeah, next week it'll be
Patreon.
on Patreon. So join
Join
patreon.com/mega64.
to see if he converts to a Sandman fan. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
And Black Friday continues.
Oh,
Keep
yeah.
watching, but we'll be back in
In just a few minutes.
In a
Stick
little
around. Bye.